What's up, everybody? I'm Jamal.
And I'm Brandon, and this is The Way We Ball.
Just frustrating, man. Twice in a row, we lose the same exact way to the same team. Once at home, once away, and it is very frustrating.
Barlow in the press conference was quoted as saying that he basically hates losing to Austin the most out of any team in the MLS. Losing to them, especially at their home when we outplayed them every stretch of the way, insanely frustrating. But we'll save more of our thoughts when it pops up on the wheel today.
So you alluded to it. We're going to bring back our Wheel of Topics segment where super producer Shay will throw up our wheel. We'll take a random spin, and whatever topic it lands on, we will discuss. Producer Shay, you got that wheel ready? So unnecessary.
Yeah. Oh. And it's spinning here for those that are audio medium here, non-visual. We probably should have given you all 4, but it's whatever. And amazingly, it lands immediately on. All right,
we're becoming we're becoming like 90s FM radio talk show, like with all these soundboards, and we are becoming Shay. It's more Shay than anyone. He's becoming ridiculous with these hand claps and sound effects for any little thing.
Well, one, I think the wheel automatic.
Bingo and the baby.
Hell yeah, though, man. That's when radio and like everything was better. But anyway, all right, let's dive into it. ATX takeaways here. We kind of alluded to it, losing to a rival in the heart of that 86th minute again. This time it's Drusy. What are big takeaways from the game for you?
So look, I have a few things that I really want to get off my chest, and I'll save the game day breakdowns for the other pods. Two things. One of them is kind of a joke. The first thing though is again, we can honestly just hit copy and paste from our complaints to the first Austin game, and it'll resonate exactly with what we dealt with today. Here's my issue. We look amazing. I followed this team since we were the 1836, right? Since day one, I followed this team. This is the best on-field play I've ever seen from a Houston Dynamo team. We look great. The ball's moving. It's beautiful to watch. It's just the finishing. There's a very small piece that we just need to fix, and unfortunately, we can't. I blame the GM. Whatever, that's for another episode. We can beat a dead horse all we want. My frustration, though, comes from Ben. We know what our problem is. It doesn't take a rocket scientist. It doesn't take a professional coach. Anyone can see that. Any armchair quarterback can see. We just need a striker. And we're going out with the same attack over and over, putting Bossi up there, putting Kowalczyk up there, and it hasn't worked. Bossi had a really good shot that he just whiffed. Not even whiffed. My puppy pees harder than the shot. He's not an attacker. He's not a striker. Move things around. Put Nepo Baby in there. Do something different. It's just the definition of insanity. We're doing the same thing over and over and over, and it's just not working. And the frustrating part is that everything else, literally everything else, is perfect. I love our defense. Even with Sviatchenko back there for Mikael, it looked good. Even with Tate Schmidt, who I'm about to get to, it was fine. It was serviceable. Midfield is beautiful. Best midfield I've ever seen since following the Dynamo day one once they moved to Houston. It's just the attack, and we're not doing anything to get better, and it's so frustrating. And what makes it even worse is when he gets on his post-game rants and he's complaining. And again, I tweeted last week when we got our win, pressure makes diamonds. I love this media pressure. I love the podcast host pressure. I think it was Bayou City that was out there. Put more pressure on Ben. Let him bitch and moan. That's okay. It's part of the gig. Pressure's going to, again, bring out the best, and not only the coaching staff, but even these players. But I would like to see something different. Throw a curveball at us, change it all up. Now, my second takeaway, and I'm going to age myself here. Brandon, in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was a show on the Disney Channel that I loved, and that was called The Jersey. The concept of the show was that kids would have this old jersey that they would put on, and it would transport them into the body of a professional athlete in the middle of a game. So they'd be in the middle of an NBA game. They'd be in the middle of a tennis match. I think Tony Hawk made an appearance. Brandon, I am convinced Tate Schmidt is part of the jersey. He's one of those kids that put on the jersey and they got transformed into a Houston Dynamo match because my God, it doesn't help that his eyes are literally the eye emoji. He looks freaked out. He looks out of his element. You have players yelling at him to make runs. You have Achi Achi yelling at him to be at a certain position. I am convinced he's a part of the jersey. That's a 12-year-old kid who was playing FIFA at home, put on the jersey, and he got transformed into Tate Schmidt because, my God, he does not look like a professional left back playing in the MLS. He looks like a kid who's freaking out. He's about to pee himself because he's so nervous. Those are my two ATX takeaways.
So working backwards here, one, I never got to see the show The Jersey living in Singapore. They just didn't have it. So quick question on that. When they embodied the person, did they also acquire their skill or did they just suck? So like when Tony Hawk was on it, were they coordinated or were they Tony Hawk?
No, so they were good, but it took a while. Like every time, it was like rinse and repeat. They'd put it on, they'd be freaking out, like, "Oh crap!" And then once they got the hang of it, they were good. They would I guess absorb the skill.
Because I was like, wait a minute, how does that work? All right, now going into Tate Schmidt, what happened to that guy? You know, at one point we were okay with Escobar leaving to Inter Miami because we believed that he was somebody that was serviceable. Now looking at it, it's like, whoa. Yeah, right? Like that take did not age too well. And the big takeaway from all of that, even if you don't know like the small minutia things, like, oh, he needs to be pressing on this and whatever, that and the third, just look at how the players treated him. You alluded to it. Ache screaming at him to run around. Bossy screaming at him to run around. That's not Bossy's MO. And for him to really be just like telling him, swing that, it just looks like there's a lack of confidence suddenly with Tate. So that's a really big concern. In a lot of ways, I would rather just see Brad Smith get burned back there than see a guy who's not willing to try to press forward. Now, moving up a little bit, we kind of talked off air a bit. We have all the right pieces. We just don't have that killer up front. I know everybody's going to keep talking about how we don't have a striker, and understandably so. I also believed that Aliu wasn't too bad in this game. He just didn't really have a moment here. I know he's not really our quote unquote striker. He's playing on the wing. Kowalczyk has been up there. Kowalczyk, it's unfair that he's having to play a striker role because he is just not, he's not that. He's not big enough to do the things we need up there. Obviously, everybody can rip things that we haven't replaced that. I don't think Nepo Baby to put him up there is in the right moment. So what do we do? I'm not sure. The one thing about Aliu, I'm going to kind of let Glenn speak on what we should do with Aliu, as he alluded to it on Soccer Matters when he was talking about specifically kind of what we should do. So
I would love to see him work that back line.
Here we go.
That I wanted to see Ibrahim Aliu take up some different positions, not just be hugging the left side of the field, to move central, to move to the right, to move into the channels in different areas so that his runs would originate from different areas. And much like a pitcher in baseball working a batter, that he would work a little bit the back line a little bit more with movement and mobility, and maybe get in places where two guys think the other guy's picking him up, and away he goes. And if he's got more of a direct line to goal, you're not going to catch him. Problem is on the right, like we've said, with an inverted team, he's always cutting in. I would love to see him work that back line a little bit more and stake out different positions. I know that may get away from the game model Ben Olsen has. I'm not questioning the coach. He's an MLS coach. I'm not. I'm just an ex-player with an opinion. But I would say if you're not getting production, you got to try maybe some tactical nuances, changes. And they did with the withdrawn forwards, which I thought was very interesting, but it's not producing goals.
So he also kind of touched on something that you said as well, that you need to do some tactical changes because right now it's just not producing goals.
Yeah, so and that's why like I really wanted to allude this is the best Dynamo I've seen. It's not on the players. These guys are playing out of position. And if that's the Aleu that we get, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that being my left winger if we had a striker up top, a true striker. I was okay with today's play. In the 80th minute, he had that run along the side where he took it in, dribbled over two players. I love seeing that Aleu. There just needs to be some changes. There needs to be some movement. We didn't see that Aleu last year because Ben was just being stubborn and kept him up top. Move him around. Maybe he can be decent on the right. Just try something different because it's not working, and it's not because of lack of skill. These guys aren't bad. There's movement in the ball. We just don't have that finisher. So I feel like we have to procrastinate until we get that guy. I tweeted on my X account, if I'm Pat, I'm going straight to Mexico. The season is wrapping up literally in the next week or two. I'm looking for a striker there, get him on loan. If not, I'm going straight to USL Championship. There's like 3 or 4 guys that are in the top scoring list. Give them a call, give them a shot. They're valued at like $150,000. They're cheaper, which is another topic of ours. They're cheaper than most of our players that we have on roster. Look for something else. Sebas isn't working, and when he comes back, I don't. When he's back from his injury, I don't think it's going to work. It doesn't look like it's going to work. We don't have any reason to be optimistic about it. Look elsewhere, get something cheap, roll the dice.
I would push back as saying all we do is look for something cheap and something that can be serviceable. We need to go opposite right now. We need to make a big splash. LAFC bringing in Olivier Giroud, like, yeah, you can say he's on the back end of his age, but he's still producing enough, and he probably will produce when he comes over here. Cincinnati getting more killers, and Kelsey coming over to the Venezuelan international. So a lot of other teams have only gotten better. The rich get richer. Exactly right, producer Shay. So we need to start having that mentality as well. We have all the pieces that are surrounding something that just needs goals for a killer. And we don't have that right now. Aliu's trying. Maybe Glenn's right. We just need to kind of switch it up. But all right, producer Shay, let's dive into the next topic on this wheel, as we only got 3 more here. But I kind of like how the listeners don't know what's about to pop up, and we can kind of catch them by surprise. All right, spin it around and around, baby. Unless you're watching on YouTube, then you do know. Hey, yo. All right, it landed on
so
what
exaggerated.
I love it. Landed on what you wanted to talk about here, where they leaked out Dynamo player salaries. And we're going to kind of play a game within a game here, where we're going to kind of talk about bargain or crook. So we will say a player and their salary, and then we'll kind of debate it. Are they a bargain or are they a crook? Jamal, you got that list in front of you there?
Yeah, this just for the viewers. Can producer Shay throw that up? If not, I can
read that off. Yeah, I know both are probably scrambling there to pull them up. But again, this is a you found this off Reddit, right?
Yeah, so this was on Reddit. I saw it on X circulating around. And again, this is a rumor. It's nothing official, as they never have official releases. But here we go. So I'm going to give you. Should we do this on the base salary or the guaranteed money?
Do it on base. I think they
Yeah,
both
let's
kind of
just do
coincide.
base. I guess we'll just do base. Make it easy for us. So I guess we can try to keep this short and simple, just for timing's sake of it all. So first name on the list, Nelson Quinones, at a base salary of $231,996. Bargain or crook?
Well, if he's playing, I would say bargain. If we're saying, I mean, right now he's injured out for the season, so he makes him a crook because we can't get any production out of him. But overall, I'd say Nelson is a bargain.
Yeah, so I mean, the old saying, best ability availability, but when he's available, he's a game changer for us. I mean, we saw what he did in the playoffs. If teams literally have to change their whole game plan, which Real Salt Lake did, but they really have changed their defense just because of him. So when he's on, defenses have to work around that. So just in that alone, he's a bargain for me. Also, producer Shay said, shout out to Panic Mode on Reddit for this list. Continuing on, Ibrahim Aleyu, $450,000 base salary. Bargain or crook?
This is probably going to be the most controversial one, where I would say the most active engagement one. I'm going to say bargain for his age and what he's done so far in this season. He's got 4 goals and an assist, I believe, in 12 games at this point. That's not bad production for what he's doing, especially with how injured we've been. I've alluded, we've banged that drum 1,000 times. So to pay him $450K at his age and what we're getting out of him, yeah, I'll say bargain.
I'm going to disagree with you here, and I'm going to say crook. I don't think it's one of the higher contracts. I don't think he's worth that much, to be honest with you. And the thing that sold that on me is that his position is listed as a center forward. We're playing him out of position, not but I guess a part of it is necessity, but I think he is a stronger left wing. I'm gonna have to go Crook just because, again, when you relatively speaking to the rest of this list, I don't think he should be up there with some of the other names that we're gonna see here in the next coming minutes.
I mean, imagine where we would be with him.
Go ahead.
He's the guy that's scoring. So without him, we would be just a disaster. This is going to be like the Corey Baird debate all over again, just with a different player here. Without his production, we would be suffering. It's the same thing that Corey did. Now we're just replacing it essentially with Aliu. Oh, we're playing him out of position, blah, 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 right? Like, oh, he's better in this position. It's the same argument, just different guy.
Well, yeah, and that's the frustrating part because then I'm looking at it like, well, for 450,000, I could have gotten a true 9 that would actually play. That's a true center forward. So that's why I'm like, it's a Crook. For me, a bargain is like a hit no matter what.
Hit. He is a hit. People are so. This is the one thing I am so against on what people are doing with Twitter with Aliu, because this guy's production is solid. Like it is good for the MLS. They just want the elite of the elite. They're seeing Suarez score 11 goals, Messi, and they're just like, oh, we need that right now. And it's a bit absurd. We don't need that right now. We just need the same guy getting better year over year. And he is, and he's scoring goals. I mean, it's just, yeah, bargain, man, for what he's doing at 450K, considering the guy that we're paying millions to is broken all the time. Yeah, bargain.
So we're going to go from our most controversial probably to the least controversial. We have Mikael at 135,000.
Yeah, I mean, that's a beyond a bargain. That's a steal. That's almost a crime for how cheap he is.
Yeah, no kidding. So that's not even going to waste any more time on that. That's a steal, bargain, A+++ bargain. From there we go.
Well, hold on, but in comparison to that, he's 150K to Brooklyn Reigns, who's 100K. So that just shows to you the gap of, you're telling me 50K more gets you a guy like Mikael over Brooklyn Reigns. Like, yeah, dude, that is a beyond steal.
From there we go to Sviatchenko at $774,996.
That's a tough one. Because you look at his leadership and what's kind of the price that you put on that, right? You look at his serviceability and how he's able to come in and just be a very reliable back. I will say for that kind of money and this kind of team, I will go ahead and say Crook. We probably don't need him as much as we probably need other positions right now, but thank God we have him. I'm still loving him, but I think in terms of this game, I will say Crook.
Before he was subbed off today, he was making some runs. I think if Ben gave him 5 more minutes, I think we would have gotten a header in there. He looked upset too. I don't know if you saw that getting off. I would say if we're having this conversation last year, I think we would both agree bargain, but we've seen what we've gotten with Mikael more than anyone. But here's my thing. You talked about leadership. You can't put a price tag on leadership. I think with how young that backline is, I love having Sviatchenko there, who has a good head on his shoulders, and he's teaching these guys how to be professionals, how to play the game. I'm sure off the field, he's teaching them how to take care of themselves, how to sleep right, how to train well. I mean, the guy has traveled. The guy has played with Celtic. He's seen some of the best opponents out there. He's played along some of the best center backs in the world. So for that reason and what he can teach to our guys and what we've seen with Mikael and the growth there, I'm going to say it's a bargain. It's tough. I'm not 100% on that, but because of those reasons, I'm going to go bargain.
The only pushback I would have on that, because you're exactly right, that kind of stuff is valuable, but we still have that in other phases. We have that in Ache Ache. We have that in Steve Clark, Artur. We have guys that are leaders on and off the pitch, Coco, etc. So, and plus you look at like Mikael and Bartlow, both of those guys are extremely mature in terms of what you're asking for. So, I think that was a good one. Find somebody in there that's a little bit shocking, because we don't need to go over every single player, but I'm thinking like a Brad Smith or a Steres, somebody that in there that we see the pitch a little bit, but maybe they have a higher
Yeah,
price tag than
good call. Because then from there we have like the Valdez, the Sargents, the Reigns. Let's go Tate Schmidt at 150,000. What are your thoughts on Tate Schmidt for 150,000?
shit, man. Last year I would have said that as an absolute steal, but this year I feel like it's almost a push. 150,000 for a guy that can theoretically play. It should be fine, but I will for right now to play this game. God, I hate this one. It is a push in my eyes, but I'll say bargain.
Oof, that is.
That's so tough to say for how dog shit he was today.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at. I think it's recency bias. I was gonna say steal, and again, it's just recent. He could have had a goal today and changed everything. But the fact that it looks like he's becoming a nuisance to other players, where they have to tell him where to go. At this point, they're babysitting him. For that reason, I'm gonna say it's a steal. Um, so there's Kowalczyk at 460,000, but the one I wanted to focus on was Latif Blessing at 650,000. Bargain or steal?
Oh man, dude, he's a crook. He's not a bargain or steal. I would say bargain or crook was the formation there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
650. I'm just fucking with you. For 650,000, he has not produced enough to be 650,000. Like, at least we can justify Svechenko's for what he does on and off. And even if Blessing had played to a degree of what he has done, I would say like, oh, okay, maybe you're pushing me there. But as of right now, no, he's been a disappointment, sadly.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. You took the words right out of my mouth. Everything that we praise Fiatchenko for, we're not getting with Blessing. So for that reason, it's a crook in my eyes. Um, there's a lot of obvious ones. Garaskia at 550,000. I'll start that one off. Bargain. When you see what we're paying some of our other guys, that's a total bargain in my eyes. Yeah. Okay.
I
Cool.
think even
Easy.
bargain.
So Ferreira, 1,920,000.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's just highway robbery right there. The fact that he just cannot stay healthy, he is consistently broken. God, dude, that one hurts. That one hurts the most.
That's not even guaranteed, but let's not deepen that wound anymore. Let's talk about our Capitan Herrera, 4,750,000.
Last year, absolute bargain. This year, oh man, he's got an amazing goal. He's coming back from an injury, so I'm being very harsh on him. It would be a nice hit if I talked about how he was a crook, but no, he's not. He's still a bargain today.
So there's a bargain for me, like a highest paid player, but it's well deserved. Um,
No,
so I guess two more, and then we can wrap this segment up. Griffin Dorsey, 475,000.
he's still a bargain. He's still good enough in this league in terms of you look at overall MLS players. He's just doing too much this year. I would still say at 450,000, that's a healthy paycheck for him that I'm okay with paying. And especially the production that we're getting out of this year from him, it's definitely down. It's definitely not the same Griffin as last year. But for 450,000, I will take that production for what he's given us.
I wish I could disagree with you just for the sake of the show, like engagement and stuff. But like, look, last year he didn't really click until Leagues Cup. 2 games in a row,
Yeah.
he's clicked. It looks like he's coming back. It just took him a while. Maybe there was a nagging injury. I don't know what it is. But from what I've seen, what we saw last year, for me, it's a bargain. I'm okay with that. I'm gonna say two more. One of them is one player. The other two is two players bundled up. The first one, Ethan Bartlow, 250,000. Bargain or crook?
Absolute bargain, man. I love Bartlow. Him and Mikael, they deserve to be high six figures. But the fact that we get them so cheap, love that.
So you made my point. Like, we're getting our starting center backs cheaper than what we're paying Daniel Stairs and Brad Smith. So my second one, Daniel Stairs at 450,000, Brad Smith at 424,000. How crazy is that, as opposed to like what we're paying Bartlow and Mikael?
And we can almost bundle that as it, to make it easy. it gets near $1 million that we could pay a striker. That's a tough one to swallow.
Very tough. Might be why Pat has been kind of quiet recently. He probably has a lot of answers to give Big Daddy Ted about that payroll, especially now that it's leaked. Well, producer Shay, that was our bargainer crook segment. Folks, if you can comment if you disagree with any of our takes, or I guess Aleu's the one that we really disagreed on. I'm sure the rest of the Twitter sphere will agree with that. So let us know, especially with Aleu, what you think about that. But in the meantime, producer Shay, is it even worth a spin? We only have one more topic now.
2 more. We always have 4, baby. Can't have a wheel without 4. And all right, so this one actually now lands on the Premier League voting. It's mainly coming from the Wolves here. They're voting on removing VAR next season here. So I'm going to do a little bit of reading, but the most thing that I want to highlight here is their reasoning to remove VAR. Some of it is really interesting to me, and I think they have a strong case. So it says, a statement issued by Wolves on Wednesday read, "There is no blame to be placed. We're all just looking for the best possible outcome for football, and all stakeholders have been working hard to try and make the introduction of additional technology a success. However, after 5 seasons of the VAR in the Premier League, it's time for constructive and critical debate on its future. Our position is that the price we are paying for a small increase in accuracy is at odds with the spirits of the game, and as a result, we should move it from the 2024-2025 season onwards." Wolves lifted a number of complaints and there was resolution. It's an impact on goal celebrations and the spontaneous passion that makes football special. Frustration and confusion inside stadiums due to lengthy VAR checks and poor communication. A more hostile atmosphere with protests, booing of the Premier League anthem, and chants against VAR. Overreach of VAR's original purpose to correct clear and obvious mistakes, now overanalyzing subjective decisions and compromising the game's fluidity and integrity. Diminished accountability of on-field officials due to the safety net of VAR, leading to an erosion of authority on the pitch. Continued errors despite VAR, with supporters unable to accept human error after multiple views and replays, damaging confidence in officiating standards. Disruption of Premier League's fast pace with lengthy VAR checks and more added time, causing matches to run excessively long. Constant discourse about VAR decisions, often overshadowing the match itself and tarnishing the reputation of the league. Erosion of trust and reputation with VAR fueling completely non-essential allegations of corruption. Now, the Wolves may sound like they're complaining, right? But when you look at VAR decisions that's gone against them, with more VAR decisions against them than any other club since it was introduced in 2019-20, Wolves have a net score on VAR of overturns of minus 17 decisions, with the next worst affected club being Arsenal at minus 7. So in this case, it sounds like they have a really, really strong case to make VAR go away. Should we start to institute this as well? Because I agree. I think it's gone beyond its overreach of what it was intended for.
I mean, that's why I wear the hat, by the way. I don't know. Look, my frustration is that I don't think anything's going to come of this. Like, I think they're going to stir the pot, and about 2 weeks, we're all going to forget about it. It's going to be transfer season and this and that. And my frustration is that teams always bring up stuff like this, like they're going to make some kind of change, and then it just gets lost into space. And I feel like that's going to happen with this. They have a very good case, and they make a lot of great points. Like, keep that energy, as the kids say, because I can just see this getting lost and not talked about ever again. I don't know how I feel about that.
Hold on, before you keep diving in, League One just officially knocked out of it because after looking at it, they and then also the Swedish league also banned VAR as well. So others are starting to fall in line here to get rid of it.
So, did League One already play a season without it, or they just knocked it out this year?
This upcoming one, they're not going to use it anymore.
Yeah. So, I mean, we talked about this, I forgot, with, I think, some MLS rule changes. I think they're going to see how it goes with League One first, if any changes happen, but I don't know. VAR is very frustrating, but I don't know what that world would be like, just focusing on human error, because it happens, right? I mean, there's times where VAR does come through, so That's a very, very slippery slope. I don't know where I stand on that just yet.
2 points that they made and that I think is very strong. One being that VAR is now overreached what it was intended to purposes was for. We're going way back into plays to look at a small foul and then we're taking away goals. Like, no, that's not the point of what VAR was. The other thing that they're talking about too is how VAR's taking away the credibility of the referee. Because one, the referee can kind of just let the game go and knowing that VAR is going to correct it. And then it kind of makes them a little bit lazier. What's the point of you in this essence? It's different, in baseball where they're kind of bringing in automatic balls and strikes. You still got to do the rest of the game. Are they out safe, etc. Right? So there's a lot that can still go into this. I think VAR is one that needs to go. Human error is okay in sports. Like, especially in today's world, we have all these technology. We have sports betting that wants to protect against, corruption in this case. Allowing more VAR into it and more technology, you would think would take it away. But what we've seen from this consistent technology here is it's not consistent. And so no one can really understand how these calls stand or how they don't stand. It's not making the game better. I think they need to get rid of it. I think that is completely logical, and I hope more leagues do it. I hope we do it.
The frustrating thing for me, though, is that technology only gets better. So who's to say 10 years from now, they're not going to come back like, hey, that was ancient times. The technology we have now, foolproof. It's going to work. Like, I just don't want to go back and forth. And I'm just worried that all these tech guys are going to promise technology, innovation. It's going to get better. It's only going to get better. It's only going to get better. My thing is that whatever choice you make, stick with that. Let that be the standard. Let's not change it. And I'm just, I guess for me, when it comes to soccer, I just give it to me. I don't want to have to worry about the little minute details, like if we're going to use VAR or not. If we're not going to use it, I'm okay with that. Just make that standard. I don't want to keep going back and forth with this. If we're going to use it, that's okay, but let that be the standard. I don't want to have this conversation every single offseason.
I'm glad we tried it, but I think it needs to go. So goodbye VAR, hopefully in the future. We don't need
If
to
the
spin the
Swedes
wheel
are
with you.
against it, we might have to. I trust the Swedish. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, when have they ever steered us wrong? We don't need to spin the wheel here for our last topic. This one's a little bit interesting because it ties in America, also MLS too. So Jesse Marsch just became the Canadian national team coach here, but it was kind of funded through the MLS Canadian teams, Vancouver, Toronto, and Montreal. They fronted the bill to essentially afford him because he's an expensive manager. So, one, are you interested in the fact that they are doing this? And two, he interviewed for the United States men's national team coach. Did we swing and miss here? Is this one thing that you would say the national team is going to look back on this and say, damn, we should have brought that guy in?
I don't know if they'll look back on Jesse Marsh specifically. I think they did miss with Berhalter. We joke about
Right.
Nepo baby. Berhalter's for sure nepotism at its finest. We went through a whole process, a whole voting process of getting a new president, changing the whole organization, just to revert back to our old ways. New president, brought in a family member that's the head coach. So we did with big time. Ernie Stewart was part of this U.S. Soccer Federation, left to PSV, thriving over there. So things need to shake up in the U.S. soccer system. Um, Look, I want Jesse Marsch to succeed. I want the fans of U.S. soccer to really see other coaches thrive that could have been our coach, because I just don't believe in Berhalter. Now, with all that being said, you know what concerns me more than anything, is that this shows how strong MLS is. And if I'm USL, if I'm NPSL, if I'm UPSL, I'm shaking in my britches, as they say, because this just shows how strong, how much of the market that MLS has cornered as far as soccer in the United States. They've hired a coach for a whole other country, a competitor, our rival in CONCACAF. MLS Next is coming, and it's growing fast. I can see MLS Next expanding. When that expands, that kills our UPSL teams. that kills our NPSL teams, that kills our UPSL teams. UPSL is the fastest growing soccer league right now in the US. It's crushing it. It's very easy to get into as well. So there's little fine details in that. But with that being said, it just scares me how strong MLS is, and I don't like that. You need competitiveness, you need leagues to make each other better. You can't have one strong, dominant league that makes all the rules, and they're tied with the U.S. Soccer Federation. That's why Klinsmann was such a pain in the ass for U.S. Soccer Federation, because he was anti-MLS. They want someone who's MLS. Berhalter is an MLS baby. He loves MLS. MLS loves him. I don't like that. That's not good for the success of U.S. soccer. I need more parity. So for me, I know it's not a ball in, ball out, but I am so out on this because MLS is the big mobster, and they're coming in, they're monopolizing the market, they're cornering the market, and the smaller leagues, the smaller markets are just going to crash and burn out. So I do not like this one bit.
I understand how other parity in the league can raise ours, I guess, because it just creates more of a buzz. But the MLS to me isn't strong enough. So the fact that they want to come in and be mobster, I'm almost a little bit more okay with it. As much as I do want the other leagues to rise, just because I want the sport to grow here in America more than anything. But I want MLS to be top dog. I really want it to be a world power league, and it's just not there yet. And to do that, you have to stay top dog in your own area. So I think this kind of play is kind of fun. So I don't know. Sorry,
So
I
it
was
could be fun
reading
if
here.
no, it's fine. But it could be fun if MLS were to work like look at England, right? England works really well with those lower leagues. If you win out, you go into the National League. If you win the National League, you get into the English Football League. If we can have something like that, great. I don't see MLS doing that. That's the worrisome part. And my thing is that I would love a world where we have pro and relegation. That's not going to happen with MLS running the ship. I think USL has a very unique opportunity to do something, to provide something different for fans, and they need to jump on that like in the next 5 years. But that's my main, because I agree with you. I would love MLS to be a force in the world of soccer, and that's not going to happen until they kind of take the reins. But they're also not going to implement promotion relegation. So it's tough. But yeah, at the end of the day, I love Marsch and I hope he's successful, but I hate the way that this came about.
I agree. I think the only thing though that will push this is because it's a salary cap sport. Now you're starting to see rumblings of salary cap come into the other nations like Premier League. They're all talking about it, etc. Right? But for the MLS here to get pro relegation, we need to keep adding in these various owners that are coming in and splashing cash immediately. You're seeing San Diego starting to do that with rumors of Sergio Ramos and Chucky Lozano coming over there and stuff like that. Like that is going to drive the needle there. If we can have owners that are willing to spend, look at what Inter Miami's doing. I don't understand how they keep doing all this, but at the same time, if we can have more of that, then I think you're starting to see relegation and promotion start to come in more play here. It's just the protection of that we make money every single year, and by we I mean the owners. That's what's going to keep it out. It's not so much MLS. I think it's just them protecting their pocketbooks. But it is what it is.
Alrighty. That wraps it up for our wheel of topics. Brandon, we are going to pack our luggage and head around the globe for Balling Around the Globe, where we take a story from somewhere in the soccer loving world and bring it to you, the Way We Ball listeners. Brandon, you started it off last week, so I'm going to start it this week. I am taking you to beautiful Houston, Texas. Houston, Texas, where, let me pull this up to do it justice. Houston born Fabian Herzler, who has led St. Pauli to Bundesliga. Did I take your story? You made a face.
No, I just was reading this.
Sorry.
No, it's funny.
So Coach Herzler took the St. Pauli job, and he took them to the Bundesliga. He took the head coaching job last January at the age of 29, younger than you and I. And in a relegation battle, he orchestrated an immediate and phenomenal turnaround. He was also the coach for the U.S. U20s, and he's just been pretty successful everywhere he's gone. I mean, I don't know. There's so much that I wanted to like go into this and deep dive. Like, would he have been a good fit with the Dynamo? Should we look at him? But man, there's just so many. Glenn Davis talks about this all the time. There's so many stories just in Houston alone. What made me think about this was there's Coach Quill with New Mexico United beat their first. They had their cup set last week. They beat Real Salt Lake. Their first game against an MLS club, and they won. Now they're playing San Antonio FC. So it looks like I have a club invested into in the Open Cup now that Houston's out. And then you have another head coach making history, literal history, taking his team into the Bundesliga. We go back talking about promotion, relegation. But look, Houston is a thriving soccer city. It just sucks that we can't find a way to funnel that into the Dynamo. It's going to take time, but I love hearing stories like this. And I love, if they're not going to be successful with the Dynamo, I just love that folks in our backyard are being successful elsewhere in the world.
1,000%. It's funny that the narrative of Americans playing soccer over the rest of the world just hasn't really clicked. Like they see it more as cute that we're starting to get into it type of a deal. You know what I mean? And seeing success stories come from here, especially Houston, that's promising. Like I want more of that. And hopefully it starts to translate into our league and we start to highlight more of those people that just kind of wander around that could be great for things like that. I mean, that's an awesome story. I hope more successful stuff like that keeps happening. All right. We'll pack our bags here to a country, Romania. Now, before we go to Romania, I'm going to put you on the spot here, Jamal. When I say brothers in sports, who are some famous brothers across sports that you tend to think of?
The Watt brothers, football.
Yeah, right. Good lineage passed down there. Everybody, all of them. But now one Watt brother kind of is better than the rest of them, JJ. Now imagine if JJ got to slot in whenever. Well, this kind of happened here. So it says crazy story from Romania where Dynamo Burchess player Edgar Lay was accused of having twin brother El play in his place. Underwhelming performances and the player's poor English sparked local reports that it was in fact El Nino at Domino, not the ex-Barcelona defender. So imagine just being so comfortable with like the end of your career that you just look at your twin brother and you're like, you want to play? Go for it. I don't care.
I had friends that did this in high school that would just switch classes just to be assholes. This is awesome. I love this story and the fact that like people could tell a difference in quality. That's like it's like something you what was that movie? Freaky Friday or whatever, where they like switch bodies
Bodies.
and yeah. So yeah, I'm all for that. That might have happened to Tate Schmidt today, actually. It might have been his twin brother.
His brother. You know what? He needs to cut the hair. It's the first time I will say I usually love the flow on players, but for him, he was better short haired. But yeah, how crazy is that? Just switch with your brother.
Better short haired, but also like that's Dorsey's thing, man. Like what is it? Swagger
Exactly.
jacking? You're totally swagger jacking. Let Dorsey have his man bun. Find your own thing, man. Shave. I mean, I don't want to say shave your head because then you're going to Clark's thing, but just do something different, man. Make it your own.
I agree. All right, well, let's head back here to Houston. We'll switch into our next one here. Ball in, ball out, where we take a topic, and if you're for it, you're ball in. If you're against it, you're ball out. I thought producer Shay was going to.
He loves us hanging with balling around the globe too.
I know. Maybe. No, he's not going to give us that one. Okay.
Ball in around the globe.
Nope. Give me ball in or ball out.
Ball in or ball out.
My guy. All right. So the All-Star game just got announced that it's going to be held in Austin next year in 2025. But ball in or ball out, the MLS should stop doing an All-Star game.
I'm ball out on All-Star games. I'm ball in on the festivities. I love back in the day when NFL did the quarterback challenge. If you can do more challenge-based games, I'm ball in. And the actual game itself, MLS has grown so much. We don't need these gimmick matches against Arsenal, against Man U, against Liga MX superstars or all-stars, whatever. Give me more competition-based games, and leave the game of it itself. I'd rather have Herrera healthy and rested for our season than a midweek All-Star game. Ball out on the All-Star game. It's not needed. MLS has grown so much from its infancy. This is just too gimmicky. Soccer's its own thing. We don't have to bring every aspect of American sports culture into soccer. And I think if you let go of it, I think fans will be okay with that.
So I kind of hate all-star games for all sports, not just MLS. I think they're just a bit outdated. I'm with you in the fact that I love the other games that they do. Goalie wars, so much fun to watch. Like, do stuff like that. But the way to me that you can have this is what the award ceremony should be at the end of the year when they give out, an MVP and defensive player of the year. That's what they should do, is make that the slam dunk contest, that the home run derby time. Like, not in the middle of the year when these players are going to play a meaningless ass game. Because if they get injured, then I lose them for the second half of the season when they were just playing a fun kick around game. Like, not down for that. So if it's at the end of the season when they're collecting an award, then I don't really care. Like, get healthy. That's a bummer, but whatever. You're not missing any more games. So I think if they move this to the back end, a little bit more cachet to it. I think it's a waste of time. It's just a cash grab. It's all for corporate. So yeah, ball out. I'm completely against the All-Star games now. All right, producer Shay, next one.
Ball in or ball out.
The MLS should have an indoor league. You ball in, ball out for that.
I'm gonna have to go ball out. We had an indoor league where I live, and I mean it's fun, but indoor is something that I would rather be playing, not watching. So I just talked about MLS being the big mafia boss taking over all the small guys. Let the indoor guys have their thing. MLS has no reason to get into indoor. Like, perfect what you need to perfect first, and then you can look into that avenue. Let's worry about MLS next before we take on any other ventures. I'm ball out.
Ball in. I so badly want it to be like what the And One mixtape tour was compared to like NBA, right? Where it's just showboating, guys doing amazing skill. Like, indoor, you're exactly right, is a lot of fun to play, but for some reason, it doesn't really translate to television viewership. I hope that changes. I think you could create some really cool indoor fields and courts, especially utilizing like LED. I think it'd just be a trip. So you know what? Yep, I'm here for it. Ball in on that.
If that does come back, Houston Hotshots have to be brought back. That has to be one of the franchises you bring back.
1,000% agreed. All right, last one here, producer Shay.
Ball in or ball out.
So this one we kind of debated on tossing. I don't know if we did, but and I'm going to still bring it up though. Inter Miami will finish the season with the overall best record. You ball in or ball out on that?
I'm gonna say ball out. I think they're older. They're gonna feel it towards the end of the season. I'm sure there's gonna be some injuries. I think Messi is going to take some games off towards the end of the year just to rest up and get ready for playoffs and Leagues Cup and all that. So for that reason, I think there's going to be some games that they, I don't want to say purposely throw, but end up being throwaway games. Ball out. You have, I mean, we talked about recording. Real Salt Lake has a run right now. Columbus looks great. Nashville looks great. I think you're going to have one of these teams that are really fighting for every single point, take the top spot as far as best record.
Inter Miami leads the overall record here with 27 points, and they lead the East. Leading the West is Real Salt Lake at 22 points here. Now, you kind of hit something that I think is very interesting here. They are going to get ready for Leagues Cup. To me, that is going to be their undoing because they're going to go all in again for Leagues Cup because Apple, that's really Apple's baby, right? And bringing Messi over here is a big thing that Apple has done. So I think Messi is going to be all in for that again. That's going to be their undoing. To me right now, Inter Miami is that team in the NFL that is 6-0 and everybody's like, oh my God, write them into the final. And then they lose 8 straight, right? And then they miss the playoffs. But for 6 weeks, we thought they were just title, just bound. That to me is Inter Miami right now. A lot of people are caught up into it. They're super old. I think they falter. I'm also just really out on Inter Miami. So, yep, I think I'm with you. Ball out. They will not finish with the top record.
Did we have that last one?
Yeah, but on the way out here, let's crystal ball it here. We got Frisco coming into the Shell here on Saturday, 7:30. Score predictions.
Frisco coming in here based on what we saw today. Negative Nancy has entered the chat. I'm going to go 1-0 Frisco.
I think I'm gonna go 3-1, that we bounce back, we unleash. I think this is a big, not necessarily wake up call because we didn't play bad, but I think they're gonna come out hungry to prove a point. 3-1, we thrash them.
I'd love to see that. And I would love to have Fedetta and Escobar back, just to switch it up a bit. Alrighty. Well, you threw a curveball on me there, so threw me off. But with that being said, Brandon, I wish we were on a more positive note after losing to Austin. But you know what? They don't have an NFL team. They don't have an MLB team. They needed something to do because other than Austin FC, that place is a dump. So we'll give them that. We'll give them that gimme. At the end of the day, we're still Houstonians, so we take the ultimate win. With that being said, I'm Jamal.
And I'm Brandon, and this is The Way We Ball.